Okay, so it's Friday and it's time for another U Hangout, and today I'm joined by Mr. XSLT himself, formerly known as Grey State on Twitter, or probably best known as Chriztian Steinmeier. Is that right?
That's perfect.
Good.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Hey Warren, I'm doing great. It's a lovely rainy day here in Denmark.
Oh, same in London. Yeah, grey and miserable.
Yeah.
Summer's over.
Yeah, definitely is. But it's looking good. I'm sitting here and can look straight out the road with a lot of rain, so I can see people walking in the rain, and I'm sitting in here talking to you.
Very nice, very nice. So, as always, it's nice to get a kind of bit of an introduction and kind of your background and how you maybe got involved with Umbraco. So maybe if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe, or how, a little bit about yourself, and then maybe let's get involved with how you got involved with Umbraco.
Yeah. So, well, I've been doing computers and programming for a long time, starting with the ZX Spectrum.
Okay, so this is pre-web days, even before the web was around.
It was when pixels were this big, and colors came in multitudes of 4 or 5, I think.
Ooh.
So yeah, it was fun. But I did learn stuff on that one. So
was you one of those kids that would copy a program from a magazine?
Yeah.
Line by line, and then would you get really annoyed that like you missed a typo or you missed one letter? That must be fun debugging.
I bet you I can find one of those magazines, and I can show you the pencils for every 2 letters of hex code. I would put a line down so I got everything right. But I quickly figured out it was much funnier to actually code something yourself and have the computer do something that you told it to. So
yeah, that's cool.
But lots of hacking on that machine. But then I got into school, and I got to I discovered music. So I actually went to the Royal Danish Conservatory in Denmark, and for 4 years, and I studied guitar and teaching.
So you're actually officially a guitar teacher then?
Yes, yeah? I've been teaching lots of students how to play the guitar here in Denmark, and how to play music, rock music.
Very nice.
I played a couple of bands too, so that's what I did for a long time, and the computer was in the background. And then
why the change then? So what was the day when like, okay, I'm gonna change doing music to doing kind of more code or programming or web or whatever?
Yeah. So my problem was I never really liked playing weddings and parties and stuff like that. I've always been just like the computer, making it do stuff I wanted to. I wanted to play my own music. So, and that's tough in Denmark if you or in any country.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it is. So unless you're really dedicated and have a lot of you just need to really want it. And then I had a chance to use my computer skills for as a web designer. It was called. Actually, I'd made a little flash demo of some Lego bricks building to a little racer car, and some guy thought that was cool, and he said, "Hey, you can come work for us." So the great thing was that then the music turned to the hobby. So I switched, so I could actually earn money, because the problem with not wanting to play weddings and stuff, then you cannot earn money doing music. I had to teach 3 days a week and do other stuff. So that was I just switched to playing music as a hobby. And,
makes sense.
Yeah. Then I got kids, and now the guitar's just hanging on the wall for. I've been doing that for
just to remind you.
Now. Yeah. But I will take it up again. I need to do that once in a while. I can
So
maybe
obviously you touched on your early kind of web days there and talking about Flash. So obviously that's going back a few years now, when obviously Flash was the big hip thing. But kind of how have you got involved with, I suppose, with Embraco? When was the kind of that choice made?
So I was just doing websites in ASP and you start building your own tiny CMS-like thing where you have a database and you do stuff.
Yep, I think like any developer or agency had done.
Yeah, we all done that. And then I started using a couple of there's been a couple of Danish CMSs where it was kind of just like Embraco. You can show the clients, they can edit the pages and like that. And then I tried a lot of those and not really thinking it was great because of the problem with the front end code.
Okay.
You want it to look like you made it, but once it comes inside this machine, it comes out in the other end and it looks nothing.
This is not what I built.
That's not what I did. So so tried a lot of those, and then I was at some point I got a job at a company called Heyday in Aarhus, and they said we're using this thing called Embraco, and I heard it was a Danish system, and then I just saw that I could actually do the exact markup just the way I wanted it. So and it was using XSLT, which was one of my the things I just picked up since the very beginning of XML and XSLT, actually.
Yeah, so you've kind of got the name of kind of being Mr. XSLT, and kind of so why the love for XSLT? Kind of why have you kind of got such a passion for it? I suppose not a passion, but you understand it very well, and you can. I think the majority of us do not know how to use XPath and XPath selectors and XSLT to its best. But if we was to ask you to do the same task, you could do it a lot easier, or a lot more performant. So I was just curious that kind of how you kind of attached XSLT as opposed to any other language.
Well, it's probably just because in the beginning, when I just got a computer, it was just when the internet started and all that, and I was just reading all sorts of stuff, and I just by chance I hit upon this thing called XML, and the way that it looked like the HTML, but it was stricter, and you had you could create your own tags and all that. So being a huge film crazy guy, I immediately started doing this XML file for movies.
Okay, so like a movie database type thing?
Yeah, I completely fell in love with the way that I had this. It just started with movie, then a name, and then lots of those, and then I figured out, hey, it would be very nice if I could say who was in it, and I could just create this director inside of the movie element, and just have all of those. So the way it's just you could just build the file up from ground and from what you needed from data, and then I don't know where that came. I came upon the XSLT thing, but it was a perfect fit for XML, because it was just it's obviously written in XML as an XML format too. So so all of that I knew already. So and then I just liked the templating thing, because that's probably the one thing that so many people don't get about it, that it's template based, the way the templates were supposed to work, as opposed to the way you would almost always start coding, where you do I have to iterate through all this and do this. But in reality, you can just write one template for the movie element and just say transform this, and it does this automatically. So that's I guess what I really liked about it. And then I've just used it for so many things, and it's just been one of my tools I can use very well, and I understand how to process this. And the fact that you can have one yeah, okay.
So I was going to say, do you think the problem is that it's kind of, when you were talking about the templating and that most people don't understand how it should be used correctly, is it, do you think that most developers have a different paradigm in terms of how kind of we should work? Because obviously you do it like a for each or XSL for each, when you're saying maybe you should use like a template to kind of just transform to do the same thing type thing.
Exactly. You can take the pagination example. What very many people do is they start a loop counting from 1 to whatever, and they use that number to index into something. They pick some data and they index into with the number from the loop. Where with XSLT you do the exact opposite. You say, I have all these things, I need to get them out paged, and then you show them. And when you need to show the pager with a link, you find out what position is this thing, is this one in. So you don't use that number for anything. You create the number, but it's not the start of the transformation for it. And that's one of them. But also navigation. When I create a navigation, I always start with the one template for the actual page. That's just okay. I wrap this in a link, and I wrap the link in a list item. So and how do we get the pages? Okay, so I go up and say, okay, we start with all the sub nodes of the root node, for instance, and I build it from there. So it's almost never the same. It's just because you always start from the smallest element. The thing, what's this thing doing? The navigation is showing links to all pages. Okay, so I'll start with the page and create a link for that one, and it's very fast to do like that. So because I've probably made 100 different navigations, because the designer always have some little tweak that you need to handle it, right? So most of the time I don't need all the classes for am I in a path, am I in the actual on the exact page, or something. Sometimes because of the styling. So I'm not very generic in that way. I don't just use the same navigation.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you still use XSLT up until this point, to this very day, or are we starting to use Razor more for your kind of site implementations? Or is kind of what's the kind of the percentage ratio? Is it like most of the site is now XSLT, and maybe like you use a little bit of Razor, or is it kind of gone the other way now?
I'm not using Razor daily yet.
Okay.
We're not using Umbraco 7 very much yet.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's why because the and let me say this loud and clear for everybody. I have no problem with Razor. I have no issues with it, other than it just doesn't look great to me. I'm not fond of the way it looks, and someone explained that to me recently. I was at a local meetup where I just finished I just saw the last 5 minutes of someone explaining. He'd done a demo about CoffeeScript, and he said you have to like the way it looks. If you don't like the way it looks, you're not going to like to use it.
No, of course.
And he said, and I don't like the way PHP looks. I just don't like the way PHP looks. And I got it there. I said, and that's exactly what my problem is. It's just I don't really like the way it looks. It doesn't work for me in that way. Because from a typing standpoint, it's exactly the same. I guess I would type probably almost the same amount of keystrokes because I have a
of
very
course. But like you say, if you don't like the look of the language, you won't want to read it as much, and then you maybe won't be able to kind of debug or understand your code as quickly.
There's a couple of issues with that, of course, because I'm on a Mac and I haven't looked into all the but you can run .NET on the Mac now. Yes, you can, but it's still a lot of work. It's not as pluggable as the other thing is yet, but I will eventually get to that, and I will start doing stuff. But I know already now I'm going to miss the templating thing because there's a lot of stuff going on automatically in the templates in XSLT where I can just say, okay, do this for everything, but this specific template that matches this XPath will behave differently, and I haven't seen anyone do that in Razor yet. There's been a lot of you can do the simple one where you execute a partial or a view file or something based on the name of the doc type, but not based on the name of the doc type if it has some specific property, you know. So, but I'll probably find some solution to that.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Obviously, XSLT seems like it's still going to stay around in version 7, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, I've tried it. It can be done, but the problem was all the new great properties, property editors, because when you use JSON for the format, that doesn't make sense in
XML. So you just got a C data blob of some JSON.
Yeah, and you can convert that to XML, but then you lose the context, which is half of all the stuff you do. So it will become very it's not viable to do that, I think. No. But I'm using it for everything else, so so that's cool. Yeah.
So kind of on a day-to-day basis then, so if you're working on a Mac, how's kind of your workflow for kind of working with XSLT or debugging and kind of things like that?
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier before we started CodeKit and things like that.
Yeah. So my setup is very, I guess it's probably very much like when I played the guitar. When I play the guitar, I had physical pedals, you know? The signal goes in here, goes into this pedal, goes out to this one, and I can stomp the pedals, and when I'm playing, I can adjust the controls to adjust the sound. Okay? Yeah. So not just into some rack unit where everything's programmed and I can't change anything while I'm playing, you know? Yeah. So that's the same with my setup for coding, because ultimately, I'm just an HTML, CSS, and JavaScript guy. I just use CoffeeScript to write my JavaScript. I've done that for 3 years now, I think. Okay. 99% of all JavaScript is CoffeeScript from me, because I just write that, and I hit save, and CodeKit compiles the JavaScript file, and the HTML file just loads the JavaScript file. So for me, that's just perfect. The same thing with CSS. I use less. Okay. And for I use the TextMate editor on the Mac too. It has a lot of great stuff you can do with the snippets and keyboard shortcuts, and because it's basically just a shell. It's you know, the Atom editor that GitHub created is that's kind of modeled on TextMate, because it's just you can import TextMate themes and a
pluggable editor.
Yeah, just like Sublime Edit did. You say okay, this system actually works very well, so we can do that. They just put some new stuff on it, but I've just kept with that for a long time. So, and then for
So how are you kind of running the site if you've not got, if you're saying you've not running Windows or VM, or how are you debugging this then if you've not got a site or Windows box to kind of run it?
see, the thing is, I have when I code some small section, typically a macro. What would be in a macro? I have the XSLT file for that. I have the an XML file with data for that, and that's just the data I know comes from Umbraco. Like I know it comes from. I'm just not fetching it from any Umbraco.
Okay.
I'm building it for while I'm coding it, because then I know what comes out and I know how to build the doc type when I get to that. Because then I've taken all the decisions about, should this be a string, should this be a picker, should that be whatever. And for that I usually have a less file specific for that macro thing too, and I have a way to run that. So now I can code the macro, the XSLT, along with and just transform the XML and see the result on the screen, just like anything else. It's just
okay. So you have the XML as in just from Umbraco, or what it would save. Just in a flat file.
Yeah, because that's a lot quicker. There's no compiling going on anywhere. There's and while I'm doing this, I'm mostly working on the CSS actually, because I just need to render this thing. I've never done any wild and crazy code in my views, so they're pretty plain. There's whenever I need something fancy, I'll use an extension, because that's what you should do anyway. If you see if you know anything about Ruby on Rails or something like that, you see some of the original MVC stuff. It's always keep the view clean, keep the view clean, keep the view clean, do all this in the controller. So my controller is just that initial template that matches the / There I select all the data I need, and if I need to call an extension there, I do that, because then because then the view is just templates showing what's out. So
but what tool do you use to run the transformation from? So you've got an XML file, you've got some XSLT. How do you preview that HTML in the browser? So what's doing the transformation for you?
There's a couple of things. When I'm just starting, if I'm just testing something with an XML file and an XSLT file, I have there's a free app. No, I don't remember if it's free. There's an app on the App Store called Transform. That'll just take two files and transform them. You can switch between the HTML view and the rendered view. But there's on the Mac there's a command line tool called XSLT proc, which I just have a command in TextMate that just takes the two files and
just runs it
and calls that. So it's super fast. It does all the things you want. It does some fancy X-include stuff too, which can be quite handy. So that just does the transformation, and there's a there's a few little differences between the Microsoft XSLT processor used in .NET and that one, and they're so minor, so it's no problem. Yeah. So the thing is, the great thing is that I know that the macro I've just created, I can put that on the Umbraco site, and it'll work. So so that's cool. That's just actually just a command line tool. Yeah, and that one will actually create a small HTML snippet, which CodeKit registers and says, hey, you changed that file. Okay, I'll reload that one in the browser too. So
so it's just doing like a file watch or something.
Yeah, just like it watches less files and all the other things. It just works, and I love that. And the cool thing about it is it's still flat files in the end. It's still files on the system that I can actually go and poke around in if I need to do that. DLLs too.
Yeah.
That's just me. DLLs and me doesn't work together. So
no, that's fair enough.
I always hit the wall where somebody have a reference to some version that that I don't know where it came from. That's me, and every time I've been in Visual Studio, so keep me out of that.
No, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
But it's good to see the kind of the workflow that you put in place and kind of understanding how you work in terms of, like you say, you're a front-end guy as such. HTML, CSS, JavaScript is what you live and breathe. And, it's nice to see that you can still work, I suppose, semi-isolated away from Embraco. Another team member or someone else can be creating the document types and things like that, whilst you're kind of working and kind of plugging in the UI as such. Yeah,
that's great. And we use, of course, we use GitHub and Git for all the nitty-gritty, keeping files versioned and all that. It's an awesome tool, I think. GitHub is.
Okay. So how does that? How is GitHub or Git in general just helping you or the company or the team?
One cool thing I hadn't really thought about before we started using it is that you've met my brother. He doesn't do code, but he does Photoshop very well. And so when we have a design and I need some images and graphics and stuff, I can actually just tell him that I need these graphics for that one and this and that. And he knows if I attach him to the project on GitHub, he knows where to put stuff, so we don't mail stuff between
back and forth. That's this JPEG or PNG or
Dropbox and files out of version and all that. So that's very cool, and we can say, okay, I need a new version of this one without the transparency or something like that. It's just he can just go in, do that, and put it in GitHub again, and I'll sync it down. So that's a great thing to just have. And I didn't think we'd be able to use that between us.
I was going to say, from a more kind of traditional designer or Photoshop user, how was your brother's kind of adoption of understanding Git and using Git in general in terms of kind of committing those files so that you've got them and it's always up to date and things like that?
Yeah. See, the great thing about that is that GitHub created this their own client for Mac and Windows.
Okay.
I don't really know the Windows version. I know it's not the same as the Mac version, but it's the same idea, but in a Windows using Windows terms, I guess.
Yep.
But the Mac client is very, very much not like the usual source control apps you'd see, where you typically have a tree where you can see everything in. It's very much geared towards okay, I'm viewing my repository now, and these 3 files have changed.
Okay.
You can click each file and see the changes to the left, and you can mark 2 lines and say, I want to commit these. But the idea is that you just see the changes, you commit them, and you hit Command S for save or for sync, but you're sort of used to Command S. So you just do that, and it syncs up with GitHub, and it just works. And he doesn't do any rebase or
merging.
I do all the merging and stuff, but he knows how to do that. He actually have tried pull requests too. So because when you're doing something a little bigger, you want to be able to see the history with a pull request on GitHub. I think that's an awesome feature. The thing that you can even if it's a smaller feature, you can do all these things, and you can send a pull request, and you can do all the reviewing stuff and commenting, changing stuff, all on that pull request. You can keep it going for a week or 2, and you can throw more commits into the stream, and when you're ready to merge, you just merge it, and everything just, you hear music saying, not really,
If only. If only.
Yeah, if only.
So another thing in the notes that we discussed that we was going to chat about was talking about creating good back offices, Braco back offices for editors. So is there anything you kind of want to discuss or kind of bring up?
Yeah, but that's one of that's always been one of my pet peeves, and it's been one of the reasons I was very frustrated with a lot of the other CMSs I tried, because they really didn't think about the end user.
Okay.
They didn't think about. I guess this was Nils Hartwig who said something like, they're the guys who are working in this day in and day out. They need to be able to do it. So we've been in our company. We've been very much focused on doing that, and we have a saying that is that we're building two websites. We're building the website for the client, and we're building for the people to use, and we're building the back office for the users. And that's sometimes it's enough that you rename the people section to employees, or that you can rename the news section to what's going on. But those tiny little things are the things that makes the editors, when they log in and they see, okay, what's going on? That's my section. I do stuff here. So it's so much better than they know. They need to find the exact spot in the tree that mimics the website, because they can never remember where it is.
No, of course.
So it's we've been doing lots of stuff in that area, and making sure to comment and describe the properties, all those great things we all know we need to do. So and sometimes it's just we need to be able to put to say where does this line break and where does this we find it sometimes it's better to swap the text string property with a multiple text string, if that makes sense. Sometimes it's better to change it to a multi-line text, or sometimes it's just, hey, can't we just put a star in here and say, yeah, okay, that's also an option, but not always, but sometimes it is.
Yeah.
And we're doing a lot of that. Also, the stuff where you in the beginning, when multi-node pre-picker came, we used that for everything. People use that for everything because it's for a developer. It's very practical, and it's very nice to have this thing where you define stuff over here,
and I can go and pick something.
Then you can pick some of it and have it sorted here. But sometimes the editors don't make the connection that news, they go over here, but we.
Yeah, it's kind of a disjointed flow.
And sometimes you can just render a link for them in the back office, saying, okay, click here, and then you go to the other section. That's another way. But we've been exploring doing all of the awesome pickers that Hendy managed to create in UComponents, and he's done the other great project, new pickers, I think it's called now.
Yeah.
I know he's not the only one. It's just the one that came to mind.
Yeah.
And it's the way the way they've made sure to actually make it possible to render, for you to define the label that's being rendered in the back office. Specific picker is very, very, very smart, because that's the problem you can easily run into. You have this thing where you can actually pick exactly what you need, but you can only have it say either the ID or the node name that was picked. But sometimes it's just easier to say, hey, we picked the one with the green.
Yeah, or the thumbnail, or whatever.
Yeah, or the image, render the image. So, and that's great, because stuff like that makes it so much easier and cuts down on the amount of phone calls you get. From
Yeah, exactly.
and that's very important.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Happy client means happy devs.
Yep.
So I think we're nearly out of time. So we've actually got a question from Bo Mortensen.
Yeah.
So he asks, what guitar pedal would be equivalent to the Razor View engine? He puts in brackets, my guess, Boss HM2? That means nothing to me as a non-musician.
Awesome. I don't know, Bo. That depends, because I'm guessing you like the Razor View engine a lot better than I do. So
is that a better pedal?
Yeah. The HM pedal is a little too much for me. I go up to DS and that's it. Then it starts to be too much. I'm more to the overdrive than to the metal noises. Okay. Awesome question, though.
Excellent. Unfortunately, that's it.
Yeah.
But it's been good to chat and just talk about workflows and kind of best practices and understand why you love XSLT so much, even to this day. It's been fantastic talking to you, Chriztian.
You too, Warren. I think you're doing a great job with this.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully I will see you, I don't know, you coming to the UK Festival in November at all?
Might. You never know.
You never know. If you do, I'll see you there. If not, I'll most likely see you at Code Garden or Denmark sometime.
Very, very, very possible. Yeah. Thanks, Warren.
No problem. Speak to you soon.
Yeah.
Bye. 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 Bye.